In the following clip you're about to watch, a security camera captures a motorcyclist traveling along a quiet road in Mexico in the early hours of the morning. Just another commute? Nothing about it suggesting this would be anything other than an ordinary day. And then between one frame and the next, the motorcycle is down and the rider is gone. What draws people's attention isn't the crash itself, it's what appears near the wreckage afterward. A dark, humanoid shadow materializes at the scene, moves away from it with what looks like direction and purpose, travels several feet, and then simply isn't there anymore. Watch. Reports confirm one person died at that location. Viewers who slowed the footage down frame by frame were the first to notice it, and once you see it, it's difficult to look past. Skeptics point to compression artifacts and pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find human shapes in ambiguous visual information, and those are fair arguments for a lot of footage that circulates online. But artifacts don't move with consistent direction, and pareidolia doesn't produce a shape that appears specifically after a crash and disappears only after it has traveled a deliberate distance from the wreckage. In paranormal research, footage like this sits in one of the rarest and most debated categories. The possible capture of something departing a body at the moment of death, consciousness leaving in the only way it knows how, completely unaware that the body it just left behind isn't getting back up. That last part is what lingers, because whatever that shadow was, it moved away from the wreckage like someone who still had somewhere to be. So what do you think? Did that camera accidentally document the last moments of someone who had no idea it was their last day? In this next clip, we're following a man named Chris, a ghost hunter who had been hearing enough accounts about skinwalker activity in a specific area that he decided to go investigate it himself, equipment in hand, the kind of person who moves toward the thing everyone else is running from. He brings a spirit communication device with him, the kind that picks up and translates electromagnetic fluctuations into audible words. And what comes through on that device when he gets to the location stops him cold. Voices asking him to come help, drawing him further in with exactly the kind of appeal that's hardest to ignore and easiest to follow into somewhere you shouldn't be. Watch.
Yo. Hello? Did somebody just walk through there? Hey, if you're there, I'm out here. I'm just doing some ghost hunting stuff. Somebody just walked right through there. She will not.
My name is Fred.
Your name is Fred? Hi, Fred. Many years ago. Did you guys see that or am I tripping? Say your name. My name is Chris. What's your name? What the fuck, bro? Okay. Help us talk? Okay. Holy shit. That door fucking opened. That door opened by itself. That door opened by itself. That fucking door opened by itself. What the fuck, bro? Oh no.
Hiding in the dark.
Hiding in the dark? The fucking door opened.
And then he runs. Whatever he sees in there overrides every instinct that brought him to that location in the first place. And Chris, a man who showed up to a skinwalker site on purpose with recording equipment at night, decides that whatever is happening is beyond what he came prepared for. Now here's what makes skinwalker encounters specifically so difficult to investigate and so hard to dismiss. In Navajo tradition, a skinwalker is not a ghost or a residual energy. It is an intelligent, shape-shifting entity that actively hunts, that learns the behavior and vocalizations of its targets, and that uses mimicry as a primary tool, replicating human voices, animal sounds, and cries of distress specifically to lure people toward it. The request to come help coming through that device fits that pattern almost precisely. Not a threat, not a warning, but an invitation wrapped in vulnerability. The exact kind of signal designed to pull someone deeper into isolated territory. What makes it worse is that skinwalkers across documented accounts are said to be most active at the threshold, doorways, tree lines, the edge of light and dark. And a door opening on its own, in that context, isn't a poltergeist moment. It's something marking a boundary and making clear it can cross it whenever it chooses. Chris came looking for a skinwalker. Based on what he ran from, it's worth asking whether it was already looking for him. So what do you think? Did Chris get closer to something real than any of his equipment was ever designed to handle? Or is there a less ancient explanation for what came through on that device? In this next clip, a security guard is doing his rounds inside a residential subdivision in Leon, Guanajuato. Gated community, empty houses. The kind of assignment where the biggest concern is usually staying awake through the quiet hours of the early morning. He's supposed to be completely alone, and then he starts hearing children. Not one child, not a sound that could be a television left on somewhere or an animal in the walls. Children, voices coming from inside an empty house during the early hours of the morning in a subdivision where no one should be present, let alone kids awake and making noise at that hour. He gets it on camera, and what he captured has been difficult for people to explain away. In paranormal research, the sound of children in locations where no children are present is one of the most consistently reported and most deeply unsettling categories of auditory phenomena, partly because of how specific and unmistakable the sound of a child's voice is, and partly because of what it implies about whatever is producing it. In Latin American folk tradition, disembodied children's voices heard in empty buildings during the early hours are frequently associated with the souls of children who died in or near that location, tied to the space and unable to move on, replaying fragments of a life that ended before it was finished. Others believe entities use the sound of children specifically because it triggers a protective instinct, drawing people toward the source rather than away from it, which in an empty subdivision in the middle of the night is exactly the kind of direction you don't want to be pulled. So what do you think? Was this guard hearing something that's been in that subdivision long before the houses were built? Or is there something in those empty rooms that learned a very long time ago exactly which sound gets people to come closer? In this next clip, Frank, a paranormal investigator who seeks out some of the most historically charged locations he can find, has made his way into an abandoned hospital with an incinerator room that already carries the kind of atmosphere that makes you want to keep your back to the wall. He's got a thermal camera with him, the kind that reads heat signatures rather than light, and what it picks up in that hallway is not something he was prepared to find. Watch.
Okay, and this is what the thermal camera sees. Can you peek at me one more time? Look at that. It just gets really blue, and that's a cold signature. Look at that. And then it goes away. I'm gonna try it again. Here we go. There we go. Are you the one that she was talking about? I swear if I see an actual face peek out through there, I might not be as brave. Look. Look at that. That is literally the corner of the... Oh my God. Alright, I'm gonna walk up towards it. I wanna make sure, bring up my brightness. This hospital is amazing. I am definitely gonna be back here. I haven't even shown you guys the crematorium. Now, the thing that gets me a little bit nervous about the crematorium is that, oh, it's sticky. This is what kind of sounded like the thumping sound. You can see how corroded this whole area is. And this is where it actually starts to stink a lot. And that's because of what they burnt down here as far as remains. But look at this. This is the cremation room. All right. So inside these things here, is where they would throw body parts, either children body parts or legs and arms, and they'll throw it into incineration. See? Incineration. And this is to see if it burnt up or not. Now the crazy thing is that there's ashes still inside. Look. Those are actual ashes. Oh, that's a big spider there. Oh, the creepiest thing happened. I was putting this down and it happened off camera. But the moment I put the the K2 down, I hear a big boom. I'm just hoping it happens again. You hear it? Let me make sure it's on. Hello? What the hell is that? I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up. Hello? What the hell? Hello? Okay, that is creepy. Hello? Are you making noises? What the hell is that? Right now, you guys are inside. Listen. I'm trying to see if I could hear anything.
A thermal camera doesn't produce shapes from shadows or turn dust into figures. It reads temperature and temperature only, which is exactly what makes what Frank captured so difficult to dismiss. Something in that hallway is responding to him directly, and whatever it is, understands the difference between being watched and being ignored. In paranormal research, thermal anomalies that display humanoid form and respond to direct communication are considered some of the strongest indicators of an intelligent presence. Not residual energy running on a loop, but something that can hear and react in real time. Abandoned hospitals carry decades of fear, pain, and death concentrated within the same walls. The kind of accumulated weight that creates the exact conditions for a presence to form and sustain itself long after the building empties out. An incinerator room specifically carries a particular heaviness, given what those spaces were used for and what was lost inside them. Whatever Frank's thermal camera picked up in that hallway knew how to be seen and knew exactly when it wanted to disappear. So what do you think? Is this a former patient still wandering those corridors, or something that has been feeding off that building's energy for a very long time? In this next clip, a woman steps outside late at night to let her dog do its business. The most routine, unremarkable errand imaginable. The kind of thing you do half asleep without a second thought. And then something materializes out of thin air in the darkness ahead of her and starts moving in her direction. Watch. She doesn't hesitate. She's back inside that house before whatever it is can close the distance. And when the camera catches the spot where it was standing moments later, there's nothing there, gone as suddenly and completely as it appeared, leaving no trace of how it arrived or where it went. That specific combination, materialization from nothing, directional movement toward a person, and then a clean disappearance, is what separates this from a prowler or a trespasser, because a physical person doesn't appear out of empty air and doesn't vanish without moving out of frame. In paranormal research, entities that manifest suddenly in outdoor spaces and move toward a target before disappearing are often associated with what some traditions describe as a fetch or an approacher, a presence that becomes visible only when it has already decided to engage and disappears the moment its window closes. The fact that her dog was right there and the interaction happened that fast suggests whatever this was had been in that space before she stepped out, already present, already aware of her, just waiting for the right moment to show itself. So what do you think? Was something outside that house waiting for her specifically, or did she just step into the wrong patch of darkness at the wrong time? In the following clip you're about to watch, a workshop owner is at home casually checking his security cameras from his phone the way any business owner does when they want to make sure everything is running smoothly back at the shop. What he sees instead stops him cold. His mechanic, Juan, is standing outside the workshop in broad daylight, gesturing, nodding, clearly mid-conversation, except there is absolutely no one there. Just Juan talking to the empty air, completely engaged, like he's deep in a perfectly normal work discussion with a person that the camera cannot see. The boss does what any of us would do. He picks up the phone and calls him, and this is where it gets deeply unsettling. He asks Juan who he's talking to, and Juan answers without a single beat of hesitation, Don Carlos. He's going over the budget, explaining the damage from the accident Don Carlos had on the highway the night before.
Estoy revisando por la cámara del taller de mi teléfono, estoy en mi casa. Y este maestro está hablando solo. No cacho qué onda. De verdad que no cacho qué onda. No, está hablando solo. Le voy a preguntar por cámara qué está haciendo. A ver, vamos a preguntar. ¿Sabes que consígueme el teléfono con la Connie, porfa? Es que no me da, está hablando solo, mira, Connie. No sé si estoy loco o qué. Mira. O me está agarrando para el hueveo, o no cacho. Llámalo, weón. No sé si me está agarrando para el huevo o no sé qué anda, weón. ¿Pero con quién habla, weón? ¿Aló? Oye, disculpa, pero ¿con quién estás hablando?
Con don Carlos, que me está viendo, pasando el presupuesto y explicándole el tema del accidente que tuvo anoche en la carretera. Entonces me está viendo el presupuesto, le estoy explicándole lo que le estoy diciendo.
Oye, cálmate. ¿Qué, don Carlos? Pero, oye, escúchame un poquito. ¿Tú me estás hablando del accidente de anoche?
Claro.
Juan, me estáis hueveando, ¿cierto?
No, pues estoy con don Carlos aquí, pues. Le estoy explicándole todo.
Oye, ¿podéis subir? ¿Sabes qué? Oye, es que no estáis hablando con nadie, viejo.
No puede ser, pues yo tengo el caballero aquí al frente mío, pues.
No estás hablando con nadie, Juan, y ayer los que chocaron murieron todos. Juan, no estás con nadie, sube y ven a ver las cámaras, tengo todo grabado. Sube, viejo, sube, vente al tiro. Si no estás con nadie, Juan.
Párala. Estoy con el caballero con el altavoz escuchándome él, pues.
Viejo, no, tengo grabado, vente, por favor, vente.
Ya voy al tiro, pero ¿me espera, don Carlos, por favor?
No, esta weá es...
And then, the boss has to say the thing out loud that he's been dreading since he picked up the phone. He tells Juan that he isn't talking to anyone, that the space next to him is completely empty, that the cameras have the whole thing recorded, that there is no Don Carlos standing in front of him. And then, he drops the part that makes your stomach fall out from under you. The people in that crash last night didn't make it. Every single one of them died. Juan doesn't believe him. He pushes back, insisting Don Carlos is right there, listening to him, standing close enough to touch. The boss is now yelling, frantically telling him to come inside and look at the footage himself, because what is happening on that screen in real time is something he cannot talk his way around. And the mechanic, slowly registering the genuine panic in his boss's voice, finally agrees to come up. In paranormal research, this type of encounter is referred to as a crisis apparition, a phenomenon where someone who has just died appears to a person they had unfinished business with, often completely unaware that they have passed. So what do you think? Was Juan given a rare and terrifying glimpse into the moments right after death? Or is there another explanation for the invisible presence standing in that workshop yard? In this next clip, a woman is on day 3 of documenting strange activity in her home, and you can hear in her voice that 3 days of this has already worn her completely down. She starts by filming her ceiling light, which she says has been blinking rapidly and erratically for the past 10 to 20 minutes. Then she hears knocking coming from outside, walks out onto her deck in the dark, and calls out into the emptiness, but gets nothing back but silence. She turns around and goes back inside, and you can hear it in her voice. She is done. She starts talking about wanting to pack up and leave entirely, and that's the exact moment the house decides to make its point. Her dog lets out a soft, anxious whimper, and a split second later, all hell breaks loose.
So this is day 3 of the weird, strange occurrences at our house. Right now this light has been steadily blinking for about 20 minutes and maybe 10, and I just don't understand why. Okay, now it's like not blinking at all. I guess it's okay now. But that and the hearing the voices and stuff sometimes, and hello? 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 Who's here? Who's here? Okay, I'm kind of freaked out. Going back inside the house. See what I mean though? This is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, why is this stuff happening? I'm really thinking about moving away. I think that we should move away. Oh my God! Did you see that? Oh my God. Oh my God.
In paranormal research, this escalation pattern, flickering lights, disembodied voices, then aggressive physical movement, is a textbook poltergeist progression, an entity building energy over days until it has enough to start throwing its weight around. The dog reacting a split second before the chair moved is the detail that stands out most, animals registering the presence just before it acts. So what do you think? Is something in that house feeding off 3 days of her fear? Or did things in those woods outside finally decide to come inside? In this next clip, we're looking at footage that came out of Romania, and right from the start there is an energy in the room that is difficult to place. The person behind the camera issues what sounds like a command, authoritative, deliberate, invoking some kind of invested power, telling whatever is in that room to rip the curtain down, to pull it as hard as it can. And before the sentence is even finished, the curtain moves violently to the side.
Prin puterea prin care am fost investit să rup perdeaua aia. Trage-o cât are. Băi, Alin, băi. Doamne, maica,
In paranormal research, entities that respond to verbal commands are classified as intelligent and interactive, which puts them in a significantly more concerning category than residual energy. Something in that room was listening, waiting, and the moment it was given permission to act, it did, with everything it had. The second piece of footage, from the same source, opens on a shelf of old, framed, black and white family photographs, the kind that have been sitting in the same spot for decades, and the narrator begins a dramatic invocation, summoning whatever spirits, entities, demons, or phantoms might be present, calling on what he describes as a primordial power invested in him by the patriarch, commanding them to move a picture, push it down, do something, anything. The room is completely still. As he finishes, he waits, and then chaos. The camera swings violently, there's a sharp cry of genuine shock, and the footage cuts abruptly. The kind of cut that doesn't feel planned. The kind that happens when someone drops everything and runs.
Oricare spirit ai afla, oricare entitate, oricare demon, oricare strigoi, prin puterea primordială prin care am fost investit de către patriarh, îți ordon să miști.
Mirela.
Mișcă poza aia sau dă-o jos, fă ceva. Mași de aici! Aoleu! Uitați pozele, uitați poșetele, uitați poza că nu e legată cu nimic. Da? Uitați. Uitați pozele, uitați. Da? Da, Doamne.
What's striking about both of these clips is the consistency. The same location, the same person, the same method of invocation, and both times, something responds. In paranormal theory, repeated successful contact with an entity through verbal command suggests that whatever is present in that space has either been there long enough to understand the ritual being used, or it has attached itself specifically to the person performing it. Those photographs on the shelf are the detail that lingers, old family images, faces from the past, in a room where something is clearly still very present. So what do you think? Is this a genuine case of successful entity communication, or is the energy in that room something that was never meant to be provoked? In this next clip, we're in a dark corridor, and the person behind the camera is already breathing heavy before anything has even happened. The kind of breathing that tells you they either know something you don't, or they're already picking up on something in that hallway that the camera hasn't caught yet. Speaking in Spanish, he extends an open invitation into the darkness. Any spirit, any soul, any demon present in this place is welcome. And then this happens.
Cualquier espíritu, alma, demonio que se encuentra en este lugar, muy bueno, eres bienvenido.
From behind the doorframe, a long finger-like shape begins to emerge, slowly, deliberately, shifting and rising through the green light with a patience that feels deeply intentional, like whatever is behind that door has been waiting for exactly this moment. The movement isn't sudden or erratic, it's controlled, which in paranormal research is always the more unsettling of the two options. Frantic energy scatters, but something that moves slowly, that takes its time, that responds to an invitation by stepping just barely into view without fully revealing itself, that suggests awareness, intelligence, and restraint. The kind of restraint that implies whatever is standing behind that door could do a lot more than wave its fingers if it wanted to. So what do you think? Did the invitation get answered, or is there something in that hallway that was already there long before the camera started rolling? In this next clip, two kids are standing in front of a set of double doors leading into a bedroom. One of them politely addresses whatever is in that room, asking if it can shut the doors. Nothing happens at first, she asks again, and then after a few seconds of complete stillness, the double doors slowly and smoothly begin to swing shut on their own. The kids congratulate it, genuinely impressed, and then push a little further, asking if it can open them back up, acknowledging that it might be hard, offering to help if it needs it. The doors swing wide open with force, and then, almost like it's showing off, they slowly begin to drift shut again on their own, sealing with one final slam that makes both of them jump slightly before they decide that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
If you can shut the doors.
Go sit down.
Okay, so you know we're staying. Can you please shut the doors?
Can I show it so you can see that it sees? Oh
yeah.
They're shutting.
Oh, there it goes. Here.
Show it so nobody can everybody can see that.
Oh wow, nice job. That's really good.
Actually, I don't think it's slamming.
Guys, like he basically.
Wait, show it like this so you can see that nobody's pushing the door or something.
Okay, can you try opening the doors? If it's too hard, we can help you. Yeah. I'm gonna give you a second to try opening them. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a little push right here. That's good. Now can you please open them?
Or shut them?
That might have been a little hard right there.
They're a little open.
And also I feel like they would stick together. Yeah. Can you push it open? I smell really badly. I'm sweating so much. Me too.
Me too. Let's shut it.
Oh, awesome job. I feel like this will be easier to open now.
Can you try opening it? This is the most activity I've ever actually actually seen because my mom was always the one that saw the activity happening.
Can you please try pushing the doors open instead of shutting them? Wow, nice job. That's really impressive. Oh, is it? Oh, no, my lashes. Okay. Wait.
It's shutting them. Good job. Try keeping one open. Oh,
nice job. Okay, guys, let's go downstairs. Okay, we're gonna head downstairs, okay?
What stands out here isn't just the movement, it's the responsiveness. This entity wasn't doing its own thing and happening to interact with the doors, it was taking requests, adjusting to instructions, and operating within the parameters of the conversation. In paranormal research, that level of real-time interactive communication points toward an intelligent haunting that has been present long enough to understand how to engage, which lines up completely with the idea that these kids grew up alongside whatever this is. On a separate day, we see a similar level of casual familiarity with something that probably shouldn't feel casual at all. A young boy is sitting at the top of a carpeted staircase while a flashlight sits on a lower step, rigged so that the slightest internal contact turns it on or off, a classic method for spirit communication. The woman behind the camera asks if this is the same little boy they encountered the other night and tells it to turn the flashlight off if it is. It goes dark immediately. She starts guessing ages. 6, the light stays off. 7, and it flares back on with full brightness.
Oh, now I'm video. So we got flashlights today, my little Ghostbusters. Can you turn the flashlight? There it is. Are you the same little boy that was here the other night? Turn the flashlight off if you are. Are you 6 years old? Can you turn the flashlight on if you're 6? Or was he 7?
You're 6.
Okay, turn. Oh. Were you here the other night?
Is it on?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. We had to go to Ace Hardware and get our flashlights.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Keep the light on if you like me.
But the moment that makes this one unforgettable comes right at the end. The boy on the stairs decides to ask his own question, "Keep the light on if you like me." The flashlight clicks straight off. The kid facepalms, the group bursts out laughing, and somewhere in that house, a 7-year-old spirit just delivered a cleaner punchline than most people manage in a lifetime. So what do you think? Are these families sharing their homes with something harmless and familiar? Or is the easygoing nature of these interactions exactly what something more calculated would want them to believe? In the following clip you're about to watch, a man who lives alone in a house built in the 1940s, has been hearing children laughing and playing in his basement for long enough that it's become a pattern he can no longer rationalize away. And on this particular day, he decides he's done ignoring it. He walks to the basement door, reaches for the old brass doorknob, and calls down the stairs in a firm voice, telling whatever's down there to knock it off. And that's when the footsteps start. Fast, deliberate, coming up the stairs toward the door with no visible body attached to them. So he slams it shut. Then this happens.
I hear you down there. Knock it off.
Okay.
Stop! Stop it! Oh, no.
In paranormal research, child entities that move between floors, respond to commands, and vanish without trace are among the most unnerving categories of domestic haunting. Not because they present as threatening, but because the combination of something innocent sounding and something physically impossible occupying the same space creates a kind of cognitive dissonance that's very hard to shake. A house built in the 40s has had decades of lives move through it, and not all of them finished cleanly. So what do you think? Is there a little girl in that house who never found her way out? Or is something in that basement using the sound of laughter specifically because it knows he won't run from a child? In this next clip, a man is completely alone in his house late at night when something in his basement starts to disturb his peace. For context, whatever that thing is has been keeping him up for days. He says it started as a faint sound, the kind you convince yourself is the house settling or a neighbor's TV bleeding through the walls. But it kept coming back, night after night, and it kept getting louder. He describes it as crying, like a baby wailing, sometimes accompanied by what sounds like someone humming to calm that baby down. To make that stranger, he lives by himself. There's no baby, there's no one else. So he does what a lot of people in his situation probably shouldn't do. He grabs his camera, turns off the lights, and goes to investigate. If you listen carefully, once the clip starts, you'll hear exactly what he's been describing before he even has to explain it. The bells he's hung on the basement door are a detail worth paying attention to too, a folk practice used in some traditions to alert against spirits passing through. Watch.
Guys, something's on the basement. Anybody down there? Hello? Hello? Guys, I have been noticing that at nighttime when I shut the lights off, I don't know if you can hear it. But there has been some crying and somebody humming, like calming a baby down. And I live by myself. There's literally nobody here in my house. And I've been noticing that there's been a lot of crying. Lots of crying. Can you guys hear it? I wonder where it's coming from and I'm just curious. Let's check it out. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I command the demons to leave my house immediately. Immediately. I command the demons to leave my house immediately. Whoa. That sounds like it's coming from the basement. Oi. Guys, it looks like it's coming from the basement. Oh, fuck! Holy shit! Holy fuck! That was a big scream. Oh shit! Holy fuck! Oh shit! Holy fuck! Oh, fuck.
Some people believe the crying is consistent with what's described in certain Latin American traditions as the presence of La Llorona, the weeping woman, a spirit believed to wander at night, mourning and crying. Skeptics point to the clean audio quality and argue the sounds are too well timed to be accidental. But that explanation gets harder to hold on to when you hear what comes out of that basement. What do you think is behind that door? Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. The bells never rang, and whatever was on the other side of it didn't need a door to make itself known. In this next clip, a static security camera captured what appears to be an entirely ordinary living room. A couch draped with blankets, a leather recliner, a small Christmas tree in the corner. A completely still, empty scene with nobody inside. The footage is time-stamped January 10th of 2026, and for nearly 30 full seconds, not a single thing moves, nothing shifts, nothing falls. But the audio is a different story entirely. Listen closely. What you just heard in that empty room is a sequence of sounds that starts with what many describe as a high-pitched, frantic scream, something that carries the cadence of "leave me alone" before collapsing into low, guttural moaning and overlapping wails that fluctuate in pitch and intensity. Near the end, a rasping voice seems to say, "Get out of here." Not one person was in that room. Some viewers think this is residual audio, a paranormal theory suggesting that intense emotional trauma can somehow imprint itself onto a location and replay without warning, like a recording embedded in the walls themselves. Others believe whatever produced those sounds wasn't residual at all, but active, reactive, and fully aware the camera was running. The fact that the room stays completely still while all of that unfolds makes it somehow harder to dismiss, not easier. So what do you think was in there? In the following clip you're about to watch, a man is standing in a dark hallway late at night, looking into his unlit kitchen, and through the faint glow coming through the window, he can just make out a silhouette moving in there, the steady rhythmic sound of a knife on a cutting board filling the silence. He assumes it's his girlfriend, calls out to her casually, asking what she's doing, cooking in the dark. Watch.
Babe, what are you doing in the dark?
The moment the lights come on, the kitchen is completely empty. No one at the counter, no one anywhere in the room, nothing on the cutting board, no explanation for the sound that was filling that space just seconds ago. He switches the lights back off, and she's there again, same spot, same motion, as if the light itself is what she can't exist inside. That specific detail, a presence that appears in darkness and vanishes under light, is one of the more consistently reported phenomena in residual haunting cases, where an energy imprint tied to a location replays the same actions in the same space on its own loop, completely indifferent to whoever is watching. In paranormal research, kitchens are considered particularly susceptible to this kind of residual activity, given the repetitive, emotionally charged nature of the tasks performed in them over years and decades. The same motions, the same sounds, worn so deeply into the fabric of a space that they outlast the person who made them. So what do you think? Is this a loop playing out from someone who used to live in that kitchen, or something that was never quite human to begin with? Now, in this next video, a man named Tristan had been dealing with something in his home that wasn't content to stay in one room or limit itself to one kind of disturbance. It moved through the house, it opened things, it threw things, and according to the narration, nothing he tried made any difference. The first incident starts in a narrow hallway at night, where he's following his cat with a handheld camera. The cat stops at the end of the hall and crouches down, staring at the gap beneath a closed door. And if you know anything about animals around paranormal activity, you already know that's not a good sign. Then the door handle begins to jiggle violently on its own, twisting up and down with force, before the door swings open entirely. He enters what turns out to be a laundry room, and no one is there. Watch.
Ben là, je suis en train de me battre pour mettre les diagrammes et tous les chiffres passés.
Il faut que mon secret puisse partir dans les modèles de courant. Je me sers de morceaux de métal combinés pour y arriver. Avec quelques chances, j'arrive à toucher le fond. Et attacher ça dans un casseur. Si jamais j'accroche au fond, le bras cédera avant le corps de Yves et je récupère.
What makes the second clip arguably more unsettling is that it's security camera footage. Static, ambient, no added sound design. Tristan, in a grey hoodie, walks toward a hallway entrance on the far right of the frame when a faint, semi-transparent figure, child-sized, hovering in the doorway, becomes visible for a few seconds before simply disappearing. Then, a wicker basket launches out of that same hallway with enough force to hit the wall. Many viewers watching this reached for the poltergeist label immediately, and it's easy to see why. Poltergeist activity in paranormal research tends to follow a specific pattern, escalating physical disturbances, objects thrown rather than simply moved, and an energy that seems almost deliberate rather than residual. Skeptics argue the basket could have been rigged, but the apparition appearing just before, it is harder to dismiss that easily. If you've been following cases like this, the child-shaped figure is what the comments couldn't let go of. So what exactly was standing in that doorway, and where did it go? In this next clip, a group of friends were all asleep when knocking woke them up at 3 in the morning. 4 heavy impacts, loud enough to pull everyone out of sleep at once. Their first thought was someone messing around outside, the kind of explanation you reach for at 3 in the morning because it's the only one that makes sense. In the morning, they pulled up the CCTV to find their answer, and what they found instead was a small cat sitting outside the closed restaurant, appearing in the frame with no visible entry, no jump, no walk-in, just there between one frame and the next as if it materialized. Watch. But here's what the poster wants you to pay attention to. Listen carefully for the moment the cat leaves, because not long after it disappears from the frame, the knocking starts again. The cat and the knocking are connected in a way that doesn't have a clean explanation, and the poster notes this isn't an isolated incident, that there has been a presence calling out around this location repeatedly, often enough that they're no longer surprised by it, just unsettled. In many Southeast Asian traditions, cats, particularly ones that appear and disappear without obvious explanation, are believed to carry spiritual significance, sometimes acting as vessels for wandering entities, or as indicators of a presence nearby that the human eye can't directly perceive. 3 knocks at 3 in the morning is a combination that carries weight across multiple traditions, widely associated with a deliberate spiritual provocation. So what do you think? Was that cat carrying something with it, or was it simply drawn to the same spot that something else had already claimed? In the following clip you're about to watch, a woman wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of something moving inside her walk-in closet. And then, from inside that darkness, she hears her husband's voice whispering her name, telling her to come to him. She freezes because her husband is lying right next to her in bed. She picks up her phone and starts filming. Watch.
Babe, come here. What? Come here. Oh my God.
Don't look inside.
But the detail from the caption is what reframes everything. She notes that her husband seemed almost calm when he heard the voice. Not startled, not confused, almost as if this wasn't the first time. And she hasn't been able to stop sitting with one specific thought since. What if that voice in the closet really was her husband, trying not to alert whoever was lying next to her? In paranormal research, entities that mimic the voices of loved ones to lure people toward isolated spaces are considered among the most deliberately predatory forms of manifestation, patient, calculated, and deeply aware of exactly which voice will make you move without thinking. So what do you think? Was something occupying that bed, or was something in that closet that already knew her husband's voice well enough to use it? This next video comes from a tattoo studio in Chihuahua, Mexico, where the owner had been receiving security alerts about unexplained movement and noise inside his shop for several days, enough that he says he hadn't been able to sleep. On the night of May 3rd of 2020, he returns to the studio after hours, phone in hand, to show viewers what's been happening. Inside, the room is lined with horror masks, a porcelain doll, and posters. And sitting flat in the middle of the wooden floor is a book titled El Diablo Me Obligó, The Devil Made Me Do It. He jokes about the ghost's creativity in choosing that particular title, then notices the room feels strangely cool despite it being a hot night outside in Chihuahua. He decides to go quiet so the security camera can record. Then his phone's light cuts out completely. Full battery, no explanation. Seconds later, a loud bang echoes through the darkness. Watch the camera sensor react to an unseen presence.
Buenas noches amigos, miren, me llegó una alerta de la cámara, ya la mandé a arreglar. Más esperar tantito. Me llegó una alerta de que había movimiento, que hubo ruido y movimiento. Me fijé que dejé la luz prendida de la lámpara que uso para los tatuajes. Nada más de que, como salí temprano, no me fijé que la había dejado prendida. Enfoca. Ahí está. Me llegó una alerta de que había movimiento adentro. Yo pensé que había sido la lámpara, pero no, que hubo movimiento aquí en el baño y hubo movimiento aparte y oí ruidos. Son tiriches. Cabrón. Se cayó un libro, miren. Miren qué título escogió. Creativo, ¿no? El fantasma. Ay, caray. Miren. Está haciendo calor ahorita aquí en Chihuahua. Estuvieron los días frescos, pero ahorita está como sofocadito. Y aquí adentro está como fresco, raro. No sé si hayan prendido el aire o algo, pero se siente la vibra medio rara. Aquí está el espejín. Quiero guardar un poco de silencio, miren, ahí me está grabando la cámara. Okay. Ese fue el flash de mi teléfono. Eso que sí traigo bastante batería. Ay, no mames. Se cerró la puerta. Oigan, nada más voy a apagar y retirarme porque estos días no he podido estar a gusto, la verdad. No hemos podido dormir y miren. Bueno, nada más quería venirles a enseñar un poquito de lo que pasa aquí en el local y de lo que ha sido... el perro. De lo que ha seguido sucediendo, no ha cambiado mucho, nada más se ha quedado un poco repetitivo, por decirlo así. Bueno, los dejo porque esto se está poniendo mal vibroso aquí adentro. Hasta luego y muchas gracias por ver.
Some viewers pointed to the orb as a classic light anomaly, the kind skeptics attribute to dust or insects, but the trajectory and brightness here don't behave that way. Others connected the book's title directly to the broader Mexican tradition of El Diablo, a figure in folklore associated with mischief, bargains, and making himself known in ways you can't ignore. The combination of the cold spot, the phone cutting out, the door slamming, and then the security footage catching both the orb and the flying book all in one night. That's a pattern, not a coincidence. So what exactly was in that studio with him? In the following clip you're about to watch, we see a group of friends are hanging out in a room, one of them on acoustic guitar, singing, everyone settled in for a relaxed evening with no reason to be anywhere else. Metallica poster on the wall, the kind of low-key night that feels completely ordinary from every angle. That's the setup, but watch the window on the left side of the room.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go.
Έλα ρε μαλάκα, πάμε.
A pale, blurry white figure passes by outside in the darkness. Briefly, just long enough to register. In paranormal research, figures observed through glass, windows, doors, mirrors, occupy a specific and deeply unsettling category because glass has long been considered a liminal surface, a boundary between the interior world and whatever exists outside of it. Cultures across history have treated reflective and transparent surfaces as thresholds, places where the barrier between the living and the dead runs thin enough for something to press through. A pale figure standing just outside a window at night, still enough to watch, close enough to see, that isn't just a jump scare. That's something positioning itself at exactly the kind of boundary it would need to be at. So what do you think? Is there something on the other side of that glass? Or is this just a very precise reminder of why we don't like looking out dark windows at night? In this next clip, a teenager is standing on a dark, unlit path at night, surrounded by dense foliage, speaking directly into his phone with a worried expression. The kind of look you get when something already feels off before you can explain exactly why. He'd been out late, filming on his own, and according to what he says, he'd just received a call and was trying to explain the situation to someone he calls Brother Han. His voice already edging toward panic, even in those opening seconds. Watch.
Tembak kita masuk, oi. Lelet tadi hosi, yo. Arti menelpon. Bangan, tembak-tembak bangan, gitu ke ujung bangan. Aduh tembak-tembak.
Right there, in the deep darkness behind him, a tall, slender, pale, humanoid figure stands completely still on the path, barely visible without the highlight pointing it out. But once you see it, it's impossible to look past. The teenager himself seems to sense something, turning and scanning the darkness, even raising a second phone toward the figure as if to capture it more clearly. But he never fully sees what's already standing just feet away. Some viewers who follow similar cases from Southeast Asia immediately recognized the description, tall, pale, unmoving, and connected it to what Indonesian folklore calls a pokong, a spirit of the dead said to appear as a white shrouded figure bound at the feet and unable to rest until certain burial rites are completed. Others think it's simply someone standing on the path at night, but that explanation gets harder to hold onto when you consider how still it stands and how fast his panic escalates. The second clip follows a man in a cemetery at night, visibly shaken before he's even said a word, standing among green-tiled graves with the darkness pressing in from every direction. Take a look.
Apa challenge? Bisa, ini dekat, mana violet? Mana apa challenge, soy? Mana ini aku cek? Kasih tahu begitu hidup yang seru nih cek. Kasih tahu yang seru nih cek.
Behind him, framed between two graves, a tall, pale, white-clad figure stands completely motionless. It doesn't shift, doesn't turn, doesn't react to the man sitting just meters in front of it. He puts his hands on his head, sits down on the edge of a grave, and keeps looking toward the camera with wide, frightened eyes, asking, "What is that?" in a voice that's clearly not performing calm. The cemetery setting matters here because in Malay and Indonesian traditions, tall, pale figures spotted among graves at night are frequently associated with kuntilanak or pontianak, female spirits tied to death and burial grounds, often described as appearing in white, standing still before making their presence violently known. Skeptics argue both this and the previous clip could be someone stationed in the background for effect, and the dramatic sound design added in post-production doesn't help the case for authenticity. But the figure's stillness is what unsettles people most. It doesn't perform, it just stands there, and that somehow makes it worse. In the third clip, a man is sitting on the ground in what appears to be another cemetery at night, reddish-purple plants rising behind him, white grave markers visible in the row beyond. He's looking at his phone, expression heavy, the way someone looks when they're already on edge and trying to stay composed. Listen closely.
Oh, banyak oi. Tap boy.
Before anything moves, the audio hits first, a wave of high-pitched, frantic wailing tears through the night, a sound that blends a woman screaming with what resembles a baby crying in distress, loud and close, with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The man physically ducks and slaps the back of his neck, then laughs nervously and mutters something about mosquitoes. That one unscripted, mundane detail is exactly what makes his reaction feel real. A second, more mournful wail rises and fades before the clip goes quiet. In Javanese and Malay traditions, a wailing cry heard in a cemetery at night is often attributed to a kuntilanak, sometimes described as crying loudly to locate its victims, with the direction of the sound said to indicate whether it's near or far. The man's final words, challenging whatever is out there to respond, suggest he hasn't decided to run yet. Whether that's courage or something else is hard to say. The fourth clip brings a teenager outdoors at night on a dirt path, trees swallowing the darkness behind him, speaking casually into the camera while crickets fill the air around him. His demeanor is relaxed at first, hands on hips, gesturing as he talks, completely unaware of what's hanging in the trees directly behind him. Watch closely.
Pak Nandu. Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Tap teman-teman, tap. Apa anak nelayan? Hah? Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Satu corgi.
A pale, draped humanoid figure hangs motionless among the dark branches, positioned there the entire time as he speaks, highlighted repeatedly while he stays oblivious, until around the halfway point when something shifts. His tone changes fast. He stops mid-sentence, looks off to his right, then over his shoulder into the black woods, and starts urging whoever's with him to go inside immediately. Hurry, hurry, his voice now raw with urgency. Some viewers suggested the pale shape could be a kain kafan, a burial shroud, referencing the same tradition tied to the pokong from the first clip. The idea being that burial cloth appearing in trees is considered a deeply bad omen in parts of Indonesia and Malaysia. It didn't move the entire time he was standing beneath it. What finally scared him off isn't entirely clear from the footage, but across all 4 of these clips, a figure on a dark path, one standing still between graves, disembodied wailing with no source, and something pale hanging in the trees. What stands out isn't any single moment. It's the pattern, the same region, the same type of figure, the same breathless reaction from people who seem to have no idea what's already right behind them. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. What is it that keeps appearing in the dark, and why does it always seem to be waiting there before anyone even knows to look? The following footage was captured by a home security camera system, the same YE brand setup installed throughout what appears to be a family home, covering both the dining area and the living room. No one was inside at the time, or at least no one visible. The first clip comes from the kitchen and dining space, a well-lit room with a baby-high chair sitting in the walkway, wine glasses hanging on the wall, and the kind of ordinary domestic detail that makes what was caught on the microphone all the more unsettling. Listen closely. At the very start of the recording, before anything else registers, a disembodied whisper cuts through the silence, raspy, slightly distorted, and sounding very much like the words, "Stop it." The room is completely empty. No one walks through the frame, no door opens, nothing shifts. Just that voice, hanging in an otherwise quiet house. Some viewers think it's simply audio interference picked up by the camera's microphone, the kind of electronic artifact that security cameras are known to produce. But others aren't so quick to dismiss it, because a whisper that forms what sounds like words in a room with a baby's high chair sitting in plain view carries a very different weight than random static. That alone is unsettling. The second clip was recorded by another camera in the same home, this one covering the living room at night, with the infrared night vision rendering everything in grainy black and white. A fireplace on the left, a couch on the right, an empty armchair, and an open doorway leading deeper into the house. Watch. A wispy, semi-transparent anomaly materializes near the ceiling above the couch, cloud-like and pale against the dark room. And within a single second, it travels from right to left across the upper portion of the space before vanishing entirely. Skeptics point to insects near the lens as a possible explanation, and that's a fair argument given how infrared cameras can amplify small objects into something that looks far stranger than it is. But the shape and the speed of it are hard to fully account for that way. Some believe what the camera caught was a residual energy moving through the space, the kind of presence that doesn't interact, doesn't respond, just drifts through a room it may have always considered its own. And with that whisper still echoing from the other room, the question isn't just what was seen, it's whether anything in that house was ever truly alone. In this next clip, a man was in the middle of cleaning out what he describes as an abandoned house, dirty floors, old furniture, the kind of place that already puts you on edge just walking through it. It's broad daylight outside, bright natural light cutting through a large window in the main room, so there's no reason yet to feel like something is wrong. He pans the camera across the filthy tile floor, past a dresser, toward a long hallway stretching deeper into the house. The far end of that hallway is swallowed in shadow. Watch.
But I think I see something looking at me through that window. I might be a little delusional.
What appears at the far end of the hallway is a tall, dark, humanoid figure, a solid black silhouette slowly leaning out from behind a doorframe, head and shoulder visible, holding position, peeking directly toward the camera. It doesn't rush, it doesn't retreat, it just stays there, partially exposed, watching. That alone is unsettling enough. What makes it harder to shake is the voiceover. The man's voice stays oddly calm, almost unbothered, saying he might just be a little delusional. Some viewers think that kind of detached delivery is exactly what you'd expect from someone trying to process something their brain isn't ready to accept. Others aren't so sure the house was ever truly abandoned. A few in the comments pointed out that squatters and trespassers in empty properties are far more common than people expect, and a still figure at the end of a dark hallway could just as easily be a living person as anything else. But then there's the shape itself. That slow, deliberate lean out from behind the doorframe, the way it holds the edge like it's deciding whether or not to fully emerge. Some viewers familiar with shadow person reports pointed to exactly that kind of behavior, an entity that exists at the threshold between visible and unseen, never fully revealing itself, as if the act of being partially seen is the whole point. Whether there was someone living in that house who shouldn't have been, or something else entirely occupying that hallway, what would you do if you were the one holding the camera? In this next sequence, we follow a creator named Ryan, who has been dealing with an increasingly exhausting and persistent situation inside his home. For quite some time, he has frequently reported hearing his own name whispered in empty rooms, usually when he is completely alone and going about his daily routine. While working in his workshop and having a casual phone conversation with his aunt, his camera happens to catch a clear, clean audio recording of this exact phenomenon. If you listen closely toward the end of this first clip, a distinct, disembodied voice can be heard whispering a direct message. "I'm sorry, Ryan, it's me."
What you're about to see just happened like an hour ago. Look at this, man. Oh man, we did the Frozen theme. One of my wife's friends flew in from out of state to do the cake. It was great. I miss you guys being there. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. It's okay. How's everything going? Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. He's awesome. Yeah, they always show up. I don't know. There's something that's been happening. No one is over here. I don't know if that's. I'm not in it. I'm standing outside of it now. No one's in it. Hey, come on, man. Please. I can't keep dealing with this, bro. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. It's me. Lord, it's me.
The activity, however, didn't stop within the walls of his workshop. Days later, Ryan was hosting a live stream to interact with his followers when the presence made itself known once again, this time originating from the outdoor shed on his property. As he streams the dark exterior of his yard, a sharp, clear whispered voice cuts through the quiet night air, caught live on camera.
What the fuck was that? Sorry. Dude. Hold on. Oh my God, come here, right now.
If you listen closely, the entity appears to utter a single, highly distinct word, Ayesh. In Hindu philosophy and linguistic traditions, this term translates directly to a divine or spiritual essence. This opens up an interesting perspective for paranormal analysis. Rather than dealing with a standard localized haunting or a simple residual imprint of a human spirit, this specific vocabulary might suggest the presence of an intelligent, ancient energy or an elemental entity operating on a completely different spiritual frequency. The progression of these vocalizations is also worth noting from an analytical standpoint. The entity moves from simple auditory recognition by whispering Ryan's name to forming a structured, personalized statement of apology and finally to articulating an abstract, complex philosophical concept outside. This indicates a presence that is highly aware of its environment and potentially trying to define its own nature to the living. So, was this an advanced spirit attempting to communicate its true identity? Or is it an unknown entity merely mimicking profound language to keep Ryan guessing? I'll leave to be the judge. In the following clip, we're looking at a discovery that feels like the opening scene of a Hollywood horror movie, but for this hiker, the terror was all too real. This woman was trekking deep into a dense, isolated patch of woods when she stumbled upon a discarded, vintage-style camcorder lying in the dirt. And the most unsettling part? It was reportedly smeared with what looked like dried blood. Most people would have left it right there, but curiosity eventually got the better of her. She decided to bring it home and play back the footage to see what the previous owner had captured before they presumably abandoned the device in a hurry. What she found on the tape wasn't just a home movie, it was a record of something that was never supposed to be seen. As the camera pans across the thick, tangled tree line, you can see a tall, dark, human-shaped silhouette peeking out from behind a massive trunk. It's only visible for a split second, but the moment the lens locks onto it, the figure retreats into the shadows with a fluid, almost mechanical speed that no human could replicate. In paranormal circles, this is often labeled as a watcher, an entity that acts as a territorial spirit, guarding a specific location. The woman probably walked away thinking that the woods were the anchor, and that as long as she stayed off that particular trail and never went back, she'd be in the clear. She likely figured the camera was just a creepy souvenir of a place she'd never visit again. But boy, was she wrong. It turns out that when you bring a haunted object into your home, you aren't just bringing back a story, you're effectively inviting a guest that doesn't need a second invitation to stay. Back within the supposed safety of her own four walls, the reality of what she found in those woods began to settle in with a heavy, suffocating weight. She began to feel a relentless, aggressive energy that seemed determined to make its presence known at all hours of the night. It started with small things, items being slightly out of place, a door left ajar, but it quickly escalated into a full-on auditory assault. The footage she began recording in her own apartment shows a woman who is a shell of her former self, jumping at every creak of the floorboards.
It's the middle of the night and I just got woke up again. It's coming for me. It's in my house. The noises are coming from the kitchen. Listen. That's the noise that wakes me up every night. It wakes me up in my dreams. It wakes me up from my sleep. I have to catch it on camera.
We often focus on the what of a haunting, the bangs, the slams, and the shadows, but we rarely see the systematic breakdown of a person's sense of security. Several viewers in the comments section pointed out a chilling theory that changes the entire context of this video. These entities don't just cause fear, they feed off it. They act like an emotional battery, using the adrenaline and the high-frequency panic of their host to manifest even more physical disturbances. The more she records, and the more terrified she becomes, the stronger the entity seems to get. It's a vicious cycle where the victim's own survival instincts are being weaponized against them. As the days drag on, the activity shifts from physical disturbances to something much more cruel and calculated. She's at her absolute breaking point, visibly exhausted from a total lack of sleep and the growing realization that she is being hunted within her own walls. But it's no longer just about things moving in the dark. Now, the entity is starting to speak back, and it's choosing the voices she trusts most. She reports hearing her sister and even her mother calling out her name from the other rooms, a chilling development considering she lives completely alone and her family is literally hundreds of miles away on the other side of the country.
It's getting worse, and I haven't been able to tell anyone or go anywhere because I don't have anywhere to go, and I don't have anyone who's believing me. At first, it was my sister, but now I hear my mom, and she doesn't live here. She lives lives on the other side of the country, and I just called her, and she's in her own home. She's not here right now. So who is that? I've gone through the whole entire apartment. There is no one else here but me. No one else.
If you listen closely to the audio while she's talking to the camera, there's a faint, rhythmic hello, hello, whispering from somewhere deep in the house beneath the sound of her own voice. By weaponizing her own family's voices, the entity is conducting a masterclass in emotional warfare. It knows that even in a state of terror, a human will instinctively move toward the sound of a loved one. At this point, she's not just fighting a haunting anymore, she's fighting for her own sanity. In a desperate attempt to find even a moment of peace, she finally fled the apartment. She jumped in her car and drove, hoping that the distance between her and that trail in the woods would finally mean something. But as she pulled into her apartment's public parking garage, she realized the distance didn't matter.
I was just walking out of my apartment. And look. You see that? You see that shadow? It's following me.
If you look at the shadow cast against the concrete wall behind the red car, you can see a tall, distorted figure that perfectly matches the silhouette from the blood-smeared camcorder she found in the woods. This confirms the worst-case scenario in any paranormal investigation: a person-centered attachment. The entity isn't tied to the woods, and it's not even tied to the camcorder anymore. It is tied to her. It has moved from being a watcher in the trees to a stalker in her shadow. In the final piece of evidence, we see her trying to navigate the most mundane parts of her day, but the sounds behind her are becoming impossible to ignore. She's just trying to head down the stairs of a parking structure, but every step she takes is met with a heavy, rhythmic echo that isn't her own. You can see the exhaustion in her hands as the camera shakes. She is a woman who has run out of places to hide.
I was just coming downstairs. And I keep hearing it. Sounds like it's always like one step behind me. Listen. Listen. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
According to paranormal experts, what we might be seeing here is a demonic attachment or a high-level shadow entity. Unlike a typical residual ghost that repeats the same actions over and over, these entities are predatory and intelligent. They use an initial point of curiosity, like picking up a discarded camera, as a legal invitation to latch onto a person's energetic field. Once that bond is formed, it's incredibly difficult to break because the entity is no longer powered by the object. It's powered by the victim's recognition of its presence. In a final, desperate attempt to end the nightmare, she reportedly returned to the woods and left the blood-smeared camcorder exactly where she found it, hoping that returning the anchor would keep the entity there. But the activity hasn't stopped. Whatever followed her out of those trees has no intention of going back to the dirt. It has a new home now. So what do you think? Is there any way to break a bond that transcends physical boundaries? Or are some attachments simply permanent? And more importantly, what would you do if you were in her shoes? This next clip takes us to a living room where a group of friends or siblings are gathered to record a sweet, seemingly innocent video. They're holding heart-shaped balloons and singing happy birthday in German, completely unaware that the camera is capturing a lot more than just their celebration. The lighting is warm, the mood is light, and it looks like a typical happy moment you'd send to a family member. But if you keep your eyes on the mirror hanging on the wall to the left, this wholesome video quickly turns into something straight out of a nightmare.
1, 2, 3, 4. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag alles Gute. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Alles Liebe zum Geburtstag, Mama.
As the song comes to an end and the group starts laughing and popping their balloons, pay close attention to the reflection in that oval mirror. For just a split second, a pale, almost translucent figure with what looks like wings glides past the glass. It moves with a smooth, unnatural glide, completely out of sync with the chaotic energy of the room. The moment the figure passes out of frame, the mirror detaches from the wall and crashes to the ground, taking the room from a state of celebration to a state of absolute shock. It's as if whatever was watching them from the reflection decided it was done being ignored. So, what do you think? Was this a guardian angel making a very dramatic entrance for a birthday? Or is it a case of an unseen entity using the mirror as a portal before violently closing the door behind it? I'll leave you to come up with your own conclusions. In this next clip, we're taken back to 2016, inside the decaying hallways of the Central State Sanatorium in Indiana. A group of friends was exploring the abandoned site, looking for thrills, but finding nothing but empty rooms and a heavy, oppressive silence. At least, that's what they thought at the time. They didn't notice anything out of the ordinary during the actual investigation and only realized something was wrong once they got home. It wasn't until they played the footage back on an old speaker that they heard a voice that definitely didn't belong to anyone in their group, proving that they weren't as alone in those dark corridors as they believed.
Is that blood? Is anybody here with us? You can talk. We're here to listen.
You really have to listen closely to catch this one, but once you hear it, it's impossible to ignore. Right in the middle of the audio, you can hear a faint, gravelly, disembodied voice clearly ask, "Hello, what's your name?" followed by a series of heavy, rhythmic breaths that seem to follow the camera throughout the room. In the world of paranormal research, this is a textbook example of an electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. While many EVPs are residual, essentially just a glitch in time playing back a past event, a direct, relevant question like this points toward an intelligent haunting. It suggests an entity that is not only aware of its environment, but is actively trying to bridge the gap and start a dialogue with the living. The persistent heavy breathing is the real hair on the back of your neck moment. It's often interpreted as an entity exerting a massive amount of energy just to manifest its presence in our physical world. Was this a lost soul from the sanatorium's past, just looking for a bit of human connection? Or is there something much more sentient and watchful still walking those halls? This next clip takes us to the sterile, dimly lit hallway of a brand new apartment building where a content creator was just trying to film a routine room tour for his followers. He's visibly excited about the move, but the celebratory vibe of the video takes a sharp, jagged turn the second he steps out into the corridor. He accidentally bumps into a man standing perfectly still in the shadows, and while most of us would expect a quick apology or a friendly wave, he's met with a silence that feels heavy and entirely intentional. He tries to play it off with some friendly neighborly chatter, introducing himself as the new guy on the floor and even offering to help if the man needs anything. But the figure doesn't move a single muscle in response.
Je voulais faire un zoom tour de mon nouvel appart.
Là où j'habite. J'ai emménagé à...
Je l'avais pas vu.
Pardon, je suis désolé. Je suis votre nouveau voisin. J'ai emménagé avant-hier. Du coup, enchanté.
Tu sens le malaise?
Ça va, monsieur? Monsieur? Ça va?
Il ne dit rien.
Si vous avez besoin de quoi que ce soit, vous me dites, vous frappez, pas de soucis.
Regarde les doigts. Ça veut dire un truc?
Ça va, monsieur? Bon. Bonne journée, du coup.
Allez, je flippe là, je rentre. Avis?
If you look closely at the zoom in on the man's hand, you can see his fingers moving in an incredibly fast, rhythmic, and unnatural twitch that completely contradicts the absolute stillness of the rest of his body. In paranormal research, this kind of erratic movement is often flagged as involuntary manifestation, a sign that an entity is struggling to keep a physical, human-like form stable. The creator's own caption even asks if the fingers mean something, and for many viewers, the answer is a resounding yes. It's as if the neighbor isn't a person at all, but a creature wearing a human suit that hasn't quite figured out how the nervous system is supposed to work. The absolute lack of a verbal response, even when the creator offers a friendly greeting, suggests we're looking at something that doesn't understand the basic rules of human interaction. What do you think? Is this just a case of a neighbor dealing with a severe neurological condition and a very awkward social moment? Or did this creator accidentally catch a glimpse of something that's merely pretending to belong in our world? In this next clip, we're following a guy named Jorge who was just trying to have a chill night at home. They say you shouldn't watch horror movies alone, mostly because your brain starts playing tricks on you, but for Jorge, the real scare wasn't on the screen. It was happening right behind his desk. While he was deep into a video, he noticed his bedroom curtains starting to sway. We're not talking about a gentle nudge from a breeze. They were moving with a heavy, deliberate motion. Jorge was quick to point out that every fan in the room was killed, and the windows were sealed tight. There was zero airflow, yet the fabric was acting like it was being pulled by an invisible hand. Hoping to catch a prankster, or maybe just find a logical explanation that would let him sleep, he finally worked up the nerve to look down at the street below.
So I'm just chilling in my room. The fans are on. When I was just watching this scary-ass video, shadow figure just standing outside, like on the street, and just moved. I have no idea where my curtains are moving. Like, see, none of them were moving. It was like right there. That's a street lamp, but what is that underneath it? Cause that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, so I have no idea right now.
Standing directly under the pool of a flickering street lamp was a dark, stationary silhouette. It wasn't a neighbor out for a walk or a random passerby. This figure was perfectly still, seemingly staring up at his window with an eerie, unblinking intensity. Jorge noted that the street was completely empty just 10 minutes prior, making this figure's sudden appearance feel very intentional. In paranormal circles, this is often labeled as a watcher. These entities are frequently reported in conjunction with physical disturbances, like those moving curtains, suggesting they're capable of interacting with the environment from a distance. Whether this was a literal prowler or something much more spectral, the absolute stillness of that figure is enough to make anyone double-check their locks. In the following clip you're about to watch, a man named Antonio is moving through the courtyard of an abandoned asylum at night, flashlight cutting through the dark, white-walled buildings, pressing in on either side, a bucket and broom sitting outside the entrance, like whoever left them there didn't plan on coming back for them. What makes this different from a standard urban exploration video is the caption, "Antonio has been here before," which means this isn't someone stumbling into something unexpected, it's someone who already knows what this place feels like at night and chose to return anyway, and that distinction matters. He hesitates at the doorway, muttering to himself in Spanish, half talking himself in and half talking himself out, before shifting into prayer, invoking the blood of Christ, commanding whatever is inside to stop before he's even seen anything yet, which tells you everything about what he was expecting to find in there. Watch.
Puta, no, chicos, esto está demasiado cargado, loco. Está de... ¡Ala, qué verga! ¿Qué? Vaya, ala, no sé, entro. Me dan ganas de entrar, se los juro, porque quiero... Pero... Ok. Nosotros venimos para esto. Nosotros venimos a grabar esto. Ok, la sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Tú no tienes poder aquí. Estoy bañado en la sangre de Cristo, ¿entendiste? Alto demonio, basta, detente. ¡Basta, demonio! Te ordeno que te detengas, ¡basta! Puta madre, no, chica, la mierda, loco. Tía, esa tía se está moviendo. Uy, no me jodas, no. No me jodas. No, por un momento pensé que había alguien ahí dentro. ¡Uy, no! Pensé que había alguien adentro, loco. Te lo juro que yo pensé que me iba a topar con alguien adentro. ¡Mierda! ¡Mierda!
The office chair just inside the doorway rolls backward several feet on its own, smooth, deliberate, covering real distance before stopping deep in the dark, and Antonio screams at it in Spanish, ordering it to stop. Then it rotates. No one is in that room. That movement isn't a drift, and it isn't an uneven floor. It moves with intention, and the timing is the detail most viewers can't get past, because the chair doesn't react while he's walking the path or standing in the courtyard. It moves in the exact window between the end of his prayer and the moment he steps through that doorway, as if whatever is in that room was listening to every word and waiting for him to finish. Abandoned asylums are considered some of the most residually saturated environments in paranormal research. Decades of fear and suffering absorbed into the architecture, compounding long after the building empties out. But residual energy doesn't respond to prayer, and that chair didn't drift, it waited. So what do you think? Was Antonio walking into a space thick with trapped energy, or did something in that asylum hear his prayer and decide to answer it? This next set of clips comes from a series of videos shared by the same man, recorded across multiple early morning hours, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., sometimes pushing past dawn, all centered on the same claim, that La Llorona, the weeping woman of Mexican and Latin American folklore, had taken up residence in his home. For context, La Llorona is one of the most enduring figures in Hispanic tradition, a woman said to have drowned her own children in a fit of grief and rage, condemned to wander riverbanks and dark hallways forever after, wailing for the souls she can never reclaim. Parents have used her name for generations to keep children from straying out at night. She is not a casual boogeyman, so when this man starts invoking her name at 5 in the morning, locked in his bathroom, it sets a certain kind of stage. Watch.
5:23 de la mañana, gente, y ya está empezando a amanecer. Yo desde las 9 de la noche estoy metido acá en el baño. A mí no me jode. Acá recién pasó un ovni y mira acá está el duende, ¿eh? ¡Deja de estar golpeando! ¡No esté golpeando! ¡No esté golpeando! ¡No! ¡Ah, no! ¡Andate! Vos sos pelotudo, te parió un teletubi, idiota, ¿eh? ¡Andate!
What you just heard was a man who claims he's been trapped in his bathroom since 9 the previous night. That's roughly 8 hours. While something on the other side of that door bangs, throws objects into the room, and refuses to let him leave. A roll of toilet paper, then a pink bottle, both sailing in from just off camera, and his response is to hurl a small trash can toward the door and yell back in rapid, panicked Spanish. Skeptics will immediately point out that everything thrown enters the frame from just off screen, exactly where a second person standing beside the camera could be standing. Others think the 8-hour detail is what makes it harder to dismiss entirely. Who sets up that kind of backstory for a joke? The build-up that follows across the next few clips starts to paint a stranger picture. In the second recording, made around 5:20 a.m., as dawn was just beginning to bleed through the window, the same man grabs what appears to be a long, thin stick and walks toward a darkened doorway. Listen closely.
5:20 de la mañana, gente. Está empezando a amanecer. Miren lo que es. Miren, ahí está el reloj. Y para los que no creían en la Llorona, miren, me desperté por los lamentos de esta. Pero no vinimos acá para estar teniéndole miedo. Venimos a darle al fandom lo que siempre busca. Mamoncita, no, mamoncita. ¿Con que te vas a venir a esconder? No te piando. No te piando. Levando un nervioso. ¡Levandum! ¡Nerviosa! ¿Dónde estás? ¿Salí? ¿Salí? De donde quieras que estés, maldita. ¿No te das cuenta que ya nos cansaste con los pelos parados? Siempre lo mismo. Acá, se escuchó el ruido. Espectro, baboso.
There's a dark shape visible in the doorway, vaguely humanoid, standing still, appearing to shift or retreat as he moves toward it. His approach is anything but afraid though. He taunts it in Spanish, recites what sounds like a parody of a magic spell, dares it to come out, and calls it a slimy spectre while making lightsaber sounds with his mouth. The comedic framing is deliberate, and it undercuts the eeriness of that figure in the doorway almost immediately. But here's the thing, the shape is there, and it does move. Whether that's a person, a shadow, or something else is genuinely difficult to say given the low light and shaky footage. By the third recording, made at 4:31 a.m. during a rainstorm, he's carrying a small wicker Christmas tree ornament and once again pointing his camera down a hallway toward a partially open door. Watch.
4:31 de la mañana, gente. Está lloviendo, miren lo que es. Y les voy a mostrar la Llorona y quiero que ustedes saquen su captura de pantalla. Acá tengo el arbolito navideño del económico, nomás de este que te regalan en cualquier basurero. Miren lo que es. Miren lo que es. Miren lo que es. Miren lo que es. Y no tiene pies, Miren lo que es. Pero acá no vinimos a tenerle miedo, gente. Acá vinimos a darle al verdadero fandom lo que siempre busca. ¿Dónde estás? ¿Por qué no salís? No, porque atrás de la puerta, puede esconderse atrás de la puerta. ¿Por qué no salís? ¿Por qué no salís? ¿Querés que te encanten los Jingle Bells? ¿Querés que te cante? Siempre lo mismo contigo, ¿no? Siempre apostando a que no te das, que sí, que te tengo miedo, ¿no? ¿Quieres asustar al próximo, digo, Tengo el arbolito económico del económico acá. ¿Por qué no sales? ¿Por qué no sales de donde estás? Acá se escucha ruido. ¿Dónde estás? No te piando.
The figure standing in that dark gap is tall, slender, and completely motionless, and he claims it has no feet, though the bottom of whatever it is stays out of frame. He rushes in anyway, lights come on, and he spends the rest of the clip searching a cluttered bedroom, yelling challenges, offering to sing jingle bells, demanding the entity show itself. No audio anomaly is captured. Nothing moves on its own. And yet, that initial image in the doorway, static, dark, upright, keeps nagging at you. The fourth clip was filmed at 2:21 a.m., the coldest and darkest of the bunch, and the tone shifts. Watch closely.
2:21 de la mañana, gente. Yo les voy a mostrar lo que es la Llorona. Está haciendo 2 grados bajo cero. Allá está el reloj, las 2:21 de la mañana. Miren lo que es. Miren. Saquen sus capturas de pantalla. Miren, no te piando. Los seguidores me pidieron que diga esta frase. Padre nuestro. Escuchen. ¿Dónde estás? Vení, salí acá. Tienen que tener cuidado, gente, que no le pique. Tienen que tener cuidado que no le vaya a picar, gente. Allá está, miren, atrás de la ventana, no te piando. ¿Por qué no venís acá? ¿Por qué no venís a pararte de mano, Te voy a hacer volver de donde viniste. Agarrá y andate, mal peinada.
Right after he shouts a prayer, Padre Nuestro, a high-pitched wailing scream erupts from somewhere off camera. It's sharp and unmistakable, the kind of sound that would make the hair stand up on your neck. He immediately yells for anyone watching to listen, and his breathing goes ragged and panicked in a way that feels less theatrical than the earlier clips. That scream is the closest any of these recordings get to the La Llorona mythos directly. Her legend is built entirely around that sound, a woman's wail near dark spaces and doorways in the small hours of the morning. Skeptics argue it's a sound effect dropped in during editing, and the timing, perfectly synchronized with the prayer, is almost too convenient. But if you were standing in that house at 2 a.m., you might not stop to consider the editing timeline. The fifth and final recording, made at 4:33 a.m., takes the whole series in a direction that's harder to categorize. Watch.
4:33 de la mañana, gente, ya está empezando a amanecer. Miren lo que son los pollitos, cómo ya están cantando. Y a la gente que no cree en la Llorona, miren lo que es eso. Miren lo que es. Miren lo que es, cómo se está moviendo para todos lados, como que parece que tiene Parkinson ahí. Pero acá no vinimos a tenerle miedo, vinimos a darle al fondo, lo que siempre busca. A ver. Ah, con que escondiéndose, ¿eh? No. Acá te mando una Nodu, por la duda. Y te mando otro regalo por si te querés venir a vivir acá. Siempre lo mismo con vos. Siempre lo mismo con vos. Te voy a traer un acondicionador. A ver si te pones un poco en el pelo, porque las veces que vengo acá tenés los pelos parados. ¡Ridícula! Te reprendo en el nombre de todos los santos que pueden haber en el mundo. Siempre lo mismo con vos. Yo me miré todos los capítulos de las Tortugas Ninjas.
Taken together, what this series actually represents is genuinely difficult to pin down. 5 videos that oscillate between something that might be a real experience and something that might be elaborate, deliberately funny performance art built around one of the most potent figures in Latin American folklore. Whether or not La Llorona has anything to do with any of it, you be the judge. The following video was recorded inside an unfinished house during what appeared to be a routine walkthrough. A man moving through empty rooms, checking around corners, calling out into the silence the way most of us probably would if we felt like something was off. The house is under active construction, tools and paint cans scattered across the floors, new cabinets still waiting to be finished, a dark concrete staircase leading down into a basement that he approaches cautiously from the very first frame. He keeps calling out, "Hello? Anybody here?" Moving from room to room, his footsteps loud on the new wood-look flooring, the whole place feeling oddly tense despite being completely empty. Then something small happens first. A long piece of metal trim, balanced on the edge of the kitchen island, begins to slowly slide and drops to the floor with a soft thud, just enough to make him stop. He says, "What the heck is that?" and edges toward a bedroom doorway, still calling out, "Watch."
Hello? Hello? Anybody here? Hello? Hello? The heck is that? Hello? Who is it?
What follows is a sequence that's hard to process even on a second viewing. 2 loud, sharp bangs erupt from off camera. Then an interior hallway door slams shut with violent force. And not slowly, not drifting, but snapping shut as if something threw it. Seconds later, the basement door slams shut behind him. He shouts, "Who is it?" And then a metallic clanging sound starts from inside that now closed basement. He screams and runs, dropping the phone completely, leaving the camera on the floor pointing up at the ceiling. And then an enormous crash erupts from somewhere above, like something structural gave way or was thrown. The camera sits there alone for over a minute, and then something weird happens. The phone spins by itself. After a while, he comes back, out of breath and visibly shaken, to pick up his phone. Some viewers have argued the metal trim sliding was a natural event, precarious placement, vibration from footsteps, but the door slamming sequence is harder to dismiss. Poltergeist activity, according to many paranormal researchers, often follows exactly this kind of pattern. Not one event, but a rapid chain of them, as if something is escalating deliberately, pushing harder each time it's acknowledged. The second clip picks up somewhere similar in energy. At nighttime, in what appears to be a residential home, a man moves through the house with his phone, checking each room, a downstairs bedroom, a cluttered room, a laundry area, then down into a basement living space. You can hear a cough, a creak, the ambient quiet of a house at night. Then at 43 seconds, every light in the house goes out at once. Listen closely. What he finds when he makes it back upstairs is what stops you cold. The refrigerator door is standing wide open. A wooden dining chair has been placed on top of the table. A framed picture on the wall is now hanging at a severe angle. And in the kitchen, a large knife is standing upright, blade stabbed down into a cutting board. None of those things were like that before he went downstairs. The sound design throughout this clip, a low droning hum, a high-pitched screech when the lights cut, does feel added, and the progression of reveals follows a structure that's almost too clean, too cinematic. Some viewers called it staged almost immediately. But here's the thing, the knife in the cutting board, standing perfectly upright, is the kind of image that stays with you regardless of what you believe about it. In poltergeist cases, sharp objects being positioned or moved deliberately is one of the most documented and most disturbing categories of reported activity, with some traditions interpreting it as a specific kind of threat, not random chaos, but something intentional and directed. Whether both of these clips represent genuine events or carefully constructed moments, the pattern they share is unmistakable. A house that seems quiet, a man alone, and then everything happening at once. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. And if you're enjoying watching this video, like and subscribe. Because in both cases, whatever the explanation, neither man stuck around long enough to find out what came next. In this next clip, we're we're introduced to Morgan Morrison, a cake maker who has come to the conclusion that her bakery is not just a place of business. It's a place of business with a permanent resident who didn't sign a lease, and the evidence she's been collecting is hard to argue with. Knives, utensils, items that were perfectly placed and perfectly still, just deciding to move on their own. A knife hanging from the ceiling with no logical explanation for how it got there. Objects that have no business relocating themselves, doing exactly that on a regular basis. The kind of activity that starts as a minor inconvenience and slowly becomes impossible to keep explaining away.
Hello guys. I did not think that I was going to blow up on ghost talk during work on a Friday morning. I do not have time to answer everybody right now, but I do know that some people are aggravated that they have to sit through 12 minutes of me being long-winded to see the actual footage. So here is a short montage of the footage I have. Episodes 4 through 4.5 that I have shared, just so you can see it without having to sit through it. If you have questions or comments, odds are I've probably already answered it in past videos. Feel free to go watch. Okay, talk soon. See you for episode 5.
In paranormal research, a commercial space like a bakery, a location with high daily foot traffic, emotional energy, and decades of human activity baked into its walls, is exactly the kind of environment where a presence can establish itself and grow comfortable over time, feeding off the constant cycle of people coming and going without ever having to reveal itself fully. Now Morgan, being the kind of person who leans into things rather than away from them, has named the entity. His name is Harry, and Harry, as it turns out, has opinions. One day, Morgan and her friend had been in the bakery with a ghost detection app running, and whatever Harry picked up on that day was enough to send both of them sprinting out of the building and straight into the car.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you, right? I'm gonna kill you because this dumb you made me cry. This dumb downloaded the ghost app on her phone, and it is out there in the lobby on charge going off right now. It has not been open. The app is not open. I don't know what to do. I'm not going out there. I'm leaving your ass, Courtney. I can't believe you did this. I cannot believe you downloaded that.
I don't. Where's your phone? Where's your phone on charge? It's on charge on my pad. You want me to walk out there right now? Oh God! Just hold on. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Do y'all hear it beeping? God, I hope they can hear it beeping. You go first. Good God Almighty. Courtney, mean. It just said mean. Get out of here. Get out. Jesus.
Now, ghost detection apps are one of the most debated tools in the paranormal space, with skeptics arguing they're nothing more than random word generators designed to produce spooky results on demand, and believers pointing to the sheer specificity of certain responses as evidence that something more is going on. But here's what makes this one worth taking seriously. The word didn't come in a vacuum. It came after a sustained period of physical activity in that bakery, and it arrived as a single, direct, unambiguous word with no filler around it. And the comment section was immediately divided on what that word actually meant. Half the viewers took it at face value, Harry announcing his own temperament, a warning of sorts. The other half had a completely different read, that Harry wasn't describing himself at all, but reacting to being recorded, calling them out for treating him like a spectacle. Which in paranormal theory actually tracks. Intelligent entities that have occupied a space for a long time can develop a strong sense of territorial privacy, and being filmed without consent, so to speak, could absolutely provoke exactly that kind of single word response. But whether Harry is mean or simply misunderstood, what Morgan captured next suggests he's been in that bakery long enough to feel completely at home in it, moving through the space with a familiarity that only comes from years of occupancy, and completely unbothered by the fact that the humans around him are starting to pay closer attention. In paranormal research, entities that remain in commercial spaces long term are often former owners, workers, or regular patrons. People so emotionally tied to a location in life that the idea of leaving it in death simply never took hold. Harry might have loved that bakery. He might still. And if that's the case, Morgan isn't dealing with something hostile. She's dealing with something that just refuses to close up shop.
So look in front of the cold cake case and you see it coming and flying down from the air if you zoom it in. And then right after, you see that crazy orb like following, almost like it's going with the arrow, then flying away. Look at that orb. Little spicy thing. So yeah, that's kind of Harry's MO. He likes to make things appear from nowhere, and he loves throwing things. He's actually been very well behaved since I got back from my retreat. However, I did hear that he acted up just a little bit while I was gone. I believe he threw a glue stick at a customer and an M&M at a customer. So yeah, he's just playing around these days. It's really funny. I'll give you some bonus footage. So, okay. I am a really heavy sleeper. Like, I've told you this in past videos. When I go to sleep, I completely, could sleep through Hurricane Katrina, okay? And wouldn't wake up until rescue came. Like, that's how heavy of a sleeper I am. And so I came up with a solution because we have a whole PA system, okay? Like, we can have big bands play. So like our PA system is loud. I mean, we have subs, we have the whole 9 yards. So I was like, okay, our music plays during the day through a laptop that's connected to the soundboard upstairs. And I was like, okay, genius. instead of playing Spotify while I sleep, I'll go to alarmclock.com and set an alarm. And when the alarm goes off, it's going to shake the whole building because it's on the PA system. What a genius idea, right? I won't oversleep. So that's what I started doing. I picked a rooster. So when I go to sleep, I'll set the rooster for as loud as it'll go. I mean, it literally shakes the whole building, okay? Like, I can't oversleep anymore. It's perfect. Until Harry decided that he liked the rooster. So I no longer use the rooster because it would be randomly in the middle of the day and the rooster would start going off. Or randomly in the middle of the night, the rooster would start going off. So I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna exit. I'm on alarmclock.com. I'm going to the queue, making sure there is no alarm set, no future alarm set, ever. It's not. I'm gonna exit off of the tab, and then I'm gonna close the internet browser completely. And okay, fine. Well, the rooster still continued going off. And one night it got so bad that like I would just be like, what in the world? Like, it would scare the crap out of me because not only it's just so loud, it scares you, and then you realize a freaking ghost is doing it, and you got to go upstairs to turn it off, which is like the scariest place in the building. So great. Well, one night it would not stop going off, and so I went up there. I made sure everything was cleared off, but it was weird because it will show you all the past. Like, it keeps a history of the queue of alarms that were set, and it was set for like 303, 323, 333, 343, on threes, like repeatedly, and had done it every night of the week. And I was like, okay. Okay. So I cleared the queue. I made sure, and we no longer use the alarm. And the other night, I had to go somewhere. And we had one car at the bakery, me and Courtney. And I said, Courtney, are you sure you don't want to ride with me? Because you're not going to want to be here if he does something and not have a car. I swear to you, not even 2 minutes after I got out the door, she calls me. She says, hell no, screw this. She's walking to the apartment. Harry set the rooster off. So I'm just going to insert this clip of her running out the door while the rooster's going off, just so you can hear how intense it is. And it's just crazy because the internet browser is not even open. Like, he would have to open the internet browser. He'd have to type in alarmclock.com and set the alarm because it's not open. And it's so funny because she just left. She left it running. She wasn't going upstairs to turn it off. And by the time I got back and I picked her up so we could go back, I fully expected the rooster to still be going off because it doesn't stop. Like, it keeps going. It'll go for hours if you don't turn it off. It was off. It wasn't on. And alarmclock.com wasn't open. What are you going to do?
And then things get even harder to explain. On a completely separate day, Morgan is on the phone taking a cake order, just a normal business call, nothing unusual in the air, when a beeping starts coming from her friend's phone. The exact same alert sound from the ghost detection app, except the app had been deleted. It was gone, uninstalled, no longer on the device, and yet the sound was coming through clearly enough to interrupt the entire room. She heads upstairs to investigate, and that's when she hears it, a voice, faint but present, something that sounds like it could be Gabby or Harry, or something that has decided that being deleted from a phone is not the same thing as being asked to leave.
I don't know if you guys can hear that. That's the rooster going off while I'm pooping. I hate it here. I hate it here. We get here. We just got here. And we were just sitting in here talking about how heavy it feels in here. And he has a new spiderweb plate obsession. I hate it here. He put the damn rooster off. Almost like a, haha, yeah, you got something. So anyway,
I'm gonna be brave. Okay, I'm getting off the toilet. He's not messing with my day. He's not messing with my day today. I'll insert the footage here. Go up here, go upstairs to the soundboard. It's not even pulled up. Okay. So it said there was an alarm set for 6:15. And then it had all these alarms set. I have not recently used this. I have not used this alarm system in months. So you guys are my witness, and I'm going to sit here and exit every single one of these off. There's no alarm sets for the future. None. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to exit this tab. And that exited it off. I'm going to open this back up. And it's on Google. Bye. Bye.
Footsteps.
Oh God.
Gary.
I've got somebody on hold. There's red dots all around you. You need to get up now. Get up. I've got somebody on hold right outside the gate corner. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the second I walk up there, it says footsteps, like it hears me coming. And then there's just red dots everywhere, which means there's a really strong presence or something. And I was like, Courtney, wake up, wake up. So then I'm like, oh God, like I've got somebody on hold. And so I'm like, Courtney, like just record it, see what happens, and let me finish taking this cake order. I'll insert this footage. What did he just say? I was down there taking the cake order and I heard beep, beep. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, I have to put you on hold. He's been talking and saying all kinds of words. You're going to have to go back and look. But I got to finish taking this cake order. You got to get up. You got to come downstairs now. I thought you deleted that app off your phone. You deleted it? Stop. Here, just... Okay, so you're just giving us free reign here. You're just giving us some free reign. Okay, what's your name? Last name? Okay, and what's your phone number? Tomorrow, what time?
Stay.
Okay, well, just tell me the latest you can pick it up where it's so last minute, and I'll put you down for that time. Okay, I'll put you down for 5:30 because we close at 6, okay? Okay, and do you have a card you can cover this with over the phone?
In paranormal research, entities that are capable of producing sound through devices that are powered off, disconnected, or in this case, completely uninstalled, are operating at a level of energy that goes well beyond basic environmental manipulation. It suggests a presence that has genuinely embedded itself into the space and possibly into the people within it, deeply enough that removing an app is about as effective as closing a window to keep the wind out. Harry, or whatever is in that bakery, is not going anywhere. So what do you think? Is this a former soul who loved that bakery too much to ever walk away from it? Or has Morgan been charmed into a false sense of comfort by something that is a lot less friendly than it's letting on?